Here we go. NFL playoffs. Saturday afternoon, 1:30 Pacific on ABC. The Raiders take on the Texans. Texans 3.5, 36.5 the total. Week 11, it was 27-20 Monday night from Mexico City. Some calls went against the Texans. Osweiler actually played well, and the Raiders, with a fourth quarter comeback, got the W. Connor Cook now against Osweiler. Number 3 QBs obviously don't get a lot of work. Donald Penn, the offensive lineman, said, I hadn't heard his voice in the huddle the entire season. We talked about that on Monday's show. 3 Pro Bowlers on the O-line, Crabtree and Cooper. Cook's winner at Michigan State, Teddy. Can he get it done?
I don't think he's going to be any worse than McGloin was last week. McGloin looked pretty lost against Denver's defense, but Houston's defense is pretty good too. We talk about what happened. Now let's talk about that meeting in Mexico City, because of where I want to start my playoff handicap. I want to go back and look at any regular season meetings between these two. And as you mentioned, Osweiler played well in that ball game. Houston was able to run the football in that contest. In fact, they held the Raiders to 30 rushing yards on 20 carries, and Lamar Cook had a big game. Houston with more than 120. And normally when a team outrushes their foe by a 4-1 margin, they have a real good point spread record. Obviously didn't happen in that first meeting because the Texans couldn't handle Derek Carr and the passing game. But now it's not Carr, and now it's not McGloin. It is a guy who has 0 NFL experience and has never started an NFL game. And the advantage, obviously, you talked about, they got the Pro Bowlers in the offensive line. They've got elite-level receivers. They've got a strong running back. They don't need great stuff. Jack Del Rio, quote, Connor has done a nice job. He's done a nice job all year with the work he gets, basically none, and the attention to detail. I think he's really matured, become more comfortable in what we're asking him to do. The ball comes out of his hand nice. I think all the signs are real positive for Connor as we go forward. We trust him to go out there and lead us.
As we talked about earlier, it's the first time since 1966 a guy's making his first start. Starting a playoff game, he didn't start in the regular season. So the Texans go back to Osweiler, and his passer rating was 72.2. Only full-time starter worse, Ryan Fitzpatrick. The key to this game, now I think it could be decided with a defensive or special teams touchdown, maybe a key turnover late. But you talked about this, and you were watching the game. When they pulled Osweiler at home against Jacksonville, the place went bananas. It was a huge ovation once they went to Savage. If Osweiler gets off to a slow start, and O'Brien's going to be conservative, they will turn on him.
Oh, no question about it. And that's a question that I have about the Texans. Do we start to think about Houston in the way we think about Cincinnati, where there's no way I'm laying any points with the Bengals in a first-round playoff game? I don't care. You know what I mean? The Texans have not had a whole lot of success in the postseason. Osweiler was booed off the field the last time he was there. They lost their playoff game at home last year, 30-0. Do they have they can't be laying in the playoffs mentality. And the 3.5, we talked about 3.5, we're starting to see 4s now on Houston. The markets, they just want to bet against Connor Cook. And maybe they want to bet on what they consider to be the number 1 defense in the NFL. But, Paulie, the Texans really have the number 1 defense in the NFL?
Yeah, well, much of that is based on slow game tempos. Their defense was only on the field for 950 plays. Dead last in the NFL, 73 plays below average. Average game is 64 plays, so the defense was on the field for over a full game less than an average NFL team. Power rating, number 8, Football Outsiders. A good defense, not a great one. Certainly not the number 1 defense the rest of the media will put out there all week. Big boost, though. They get Lamar Miller back, and this actually could be one of the fastest games in NFL history because both teams just should run it, because why would you trust your quarterback?
But it's interesting to note, that number 1 defense. You're going to hear the guys talk about the number 1 defense, and yardage-wise, they are. The number 8 from Football Outsiders, a better assessment of that. It's a good defense. It's not a great defense. But when we talked about that first meeting, remember I said the Raiders were held to 30 rushing yards when Houston had 120 in that contest. They were able to win the game because Carr made throws. Now we look at Michigan State without Connor Cook this year, and that wasn't the only loss that the Spartans had in the offseason. But, that team went off a cliff once they lost that QB. So you say, hey, here's a college team that went way down after losing their QB. Here's a situation that kind of reminds us a little bit, and we talked about it last week, of Dak Prescott, where you're going in, yes, it's a rookie. You had great success in college. You have a strong running game. You have a defense. You have good receivers. All you have to do is not screw it up. I look at Connor Cook as being in a position that maybe he cannot screw this up. And as the Texans get to 3.5 and 4, I'm not excited about laying a price with this team. I'm really not, especially when we talk about those tweets from Oakland, the quotes from Oakland. You want me to read those, Paula? We got the Crabtree and Latavius Murray and Khalil Mack, the leaders on the team, all saying, we're coming to play. Connor Cook will be just fine.
Yeah, Murray, we can't play that way, point blank. It's about the effort in Denver, especially in the playoffs. We'll be home watching with the other teams. Mac, win or go home. Time to step up, getting ready to go down to Houston, have our best game of the year. They like what they saw to this kid. He had some swagger when he took the field in Denver.
He did. Again, McGloin was awful.
Sure,
so
he was.
When I saw
yes.
Cook come in, it was like, all right, hey, there's hope. Even though there wasn't a whole lot of hope against that defense. That's a really good pass defense. Look at Crabtree, okay? Connor I can't wait to see him play this week. I can't wait to get to practice and do what we've got to do. So, whoever they got up, man, that's who I'm rolling with, and that's who's going to get the work. So, at least Oakland, as a team, they're not saying, hey, it's hopeless. You're not getting the kind of quotes, well, we're going to give our best effort. We're getting the quotes, we're pissed at how we played last week. We're coming to play this week. Connor Cook, he'll be good enough. We'll figure out a way. In my mind, those are positive signs for the Raiders, far more than the Texans. Because, again, remember, Tom Savage isn't available this week. If Brock Osweiler stinks and gets booed off the field again, you know who's going to come in for Houston? Brandon Weeden.
Get out of here. Oh, my God. Mercy. That's unbelievable. What do you think? You know what? It could be 13 to 10, something like that. How do you put up a 36 in today's NFL, though?
You put up a 36 when you have two quarterbacks that nobody trusts and two defenses that are pretty decent. You want over? I don't want over in this game.
There's going to be turnovers. And I'm very confident there's a defensive or special teams touchdown as well.
If there's then you should be playing some over.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk you out of it. It's just not a bet I'm looking to make.
Hey, guys, for the full video, go to sbrpicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.